be nice to just kind of start by telling our story of how we sort of came to work together. And actually it goes really way back to when we were probably like 9 years old. I met Kara because she was the sister of one of my friends, and I still visualize her having these like long blonde braids. And then we didn't see each other for a long time and reconnected.
Panel discussion?
Hi.
You're just looking? Okay.
We reconnected in the center program at the Hyde Park Art Center, which is a professional development program for emerging artists. And that experience was incredible, I think, for both of our creative practices, but also just launching a lot of opportunities as a result. And one of the things that we came away with as a sort of to-do right after that program was we were invited by Mike Norse, the director of education there, to curate a show in his his own gallery called Chicago Art Department. So that was our first experience kind of working together to curate something, and it was a huge learning experience for us. I think we both had extraordinarily busy lives at that point. We both had a baby that was under 1 year old, so we would have these sort of like play dates / curatorial brainstorming sessions, and came up with the idea for the show. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about like our process. I feel like Kara actually was she really sort of spearheaded that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what this is about, start to finish. It's like you recognize when there's an opportunity for you to be able to do something. So for that show at the Chicago Art Department, Mike Norris was saying, oh, well, any of you guys can use this gallery and you can do what you want and you can have a show. And so we were in a room probably of like 25 different artists, and I was like, well, yeah, I think I want to do that. I want to have a show. So I think recognizing when somebody's offering you something and being able to recognize that as an opportunity, they're not just saying that, they're saying it like, here's an opportunity, somebody take it. So I decided to take it, and I was like, I can't do this by myself. I can't curate a whole show by myself. But Catherine was in the room, and I got in touch with her, and I said, I have this idea, and she had ideas, and we kind of crystallized our ideas together, and it became to the point where like I could visualize the whole show, like the artists, what the theme of the show was going to be, because he asked us to have a theme. So sometimes there's like ramifications of what you need to know before you can actually put on the show. So he wanted us to have a theme, and so we picked the artist according to how they work and what their work was about. So that kind of narrowed that down, the artist part. Then we needed somebody to like be the person that's in touch with the artist, somebody who reaches out to them, on like a monthly basis to figure out, what pieces do you have available? Can you send me the dimensions? Can you send me images? Because when you do your PR and your promotions and media, you're going to need images. So we collected all of that, and the names of the pieces to make the wall plates. So those were curatorial decisions that we made about how we were going to go about putting together the show.
I remember one thing that really surprised me when we were in the room with Mike Norris. It was actually it was sort of like a party, like an end of program party for the center program at the Hyde Park Art Center. We were all sitting around having pizza, and he offered this opportunity. He said, hey, if anyone wants to curate a show in my art gallery, send me a proposal. And I was really surprised that like out of the 10 or 15 people that were probably there, nobody else kind of took him up on that opportunity. Maybe because it sounds like a lot of work, and it was a lot of work.
It was an incredible amount of work.
A lot more work than we thought it would be. Like everything took, I would say, 3 times as long as we thought, every single task. But I feel like it was really worth it. I'm really glad that, I feel like Kara kind of like gave me the nudge, like, let's do this, come on.
I gave you the nudge, but you gave me the wings.
Right.
You gotta have, like, I feel like if you're gonna achieve anything, even in your art career, like say you have a big solo show, but you don't have a network of artists that you're friends with or people that support you, then what's the point of achieving that goal? So yeah, I think I decided at the beginning that, like, if I'm gonna do anything, I wanna bring people along with me, like I want them to learn as I learn. So yeah, so Catherine was my cheerleader. I'd have some crazy idea about, like, can we write on the wall, like we wrote the name of the show on the wall, and Catherine used to do, like she used to do the chalkboards at stores, because she's like the professional artist, and I'm kind of like, I was in business for a while, and then I had a kid, and then I was like, okay, I want to get my artist side out again. So she took that on and was like, yeah, I can do that. I'll do it. No big deal.
Used to do a lot of lettering, not very exciting.
No, but when you have an idea and you can visualize it and
Right.
have somebody to help you make it happen.
Yeah, well, I
It's
feel like we have such
helpful.
different backgrounds and skills, and we just kind of feed off of each other, and it's nice when it's a conversation too. It's not just like I'm sitting in my studio or I'm sitting at my desk kind of conceptualizing this idea for an exhibit and then executing it on my own. Like, we're taking each other's ideas into account. We're delegating tasks so that we can split up the work. It was really helpful.
You're really kind of like pushing each other too. Like, I did a studio visit because I was curating a show for a class at Catherine's studio, which was really great because it was my first studio visit, and Catherine like had all these snacks out and drinks. So if you have a studio visit from anybody, like make it really comfortable. Have the curator, happy to be there because they remember that. But yeah, so just like helping each other grow. So we do that. Like we have goals of things that we want to achieve, and then being able to say that to somebody, to say it out loud, kind of makes it easier to achieve it. And as we've only been doing these since March of this year, but we've had 3 or 4 different opportunities where somebody says, I have an idea for me. I ran into a friend of mine who is the director at the forest preserves, and she was like, I really want to have this outdoor show, and I know you and you're an artist, like, do you know any artists that I could get in touch with? And I was like, I can do it for you. Like, I can reach out to the people, I can get them together. And we did. We had a show along the trails, and it was contemporary art, so it would be like moms and strollers or fishermen, just people that were interested in nature walking along and being confronted with contemporary art in a new venue. So that kind of honed down my vision of like the curating ideas, like to do it in not such normal places. It gives you more opportunity when you're starting, so you can have all these different things that you've achieved. Like I did a show in the back, I did like a performance piece in the back staircase of the Hyde Park Art Center, where I dropped like all these balls down the stairs and videotaped it, and people from the neighborhood came and saw it, and they had it in the newspaper. So then those are things that I can add to my resume. This panel right now is something that I've never done, but I thought, we've done this so much, and we've learned all these different things along the way, that like who wouldn't want to know that, like, if you just have an idea and you follow it and you have people that can help you, then you can achieve it. So.
The curating, I feel like, has been really good for my artistic practice as well. Like just, meeting a lot of other artists. I feel like it's really helped me build more of a community of other artists and sort of get outside of my studio. And then, I think also like people appreciate when you include them in a show. Everyone is excited to have an opportunity to show their work. So, hopefully down the road maybe they include you in something, and it's just like a nice conversation. But even beyond that, just going back to, you were starting to talk about the Forest Preserve show. There are a bunch of shows that Kara has curated independently that she's included me in as an artist, and every time she includes me in one of her shows, I feel like I'm challenged to get a little bit outside my comfort zone, which I love. For example, with the Forest Preserve, it had to be an ephemeral piece, and I normally do paintings that are on the wall. They're, rectangles. So I had to come up with some way to respond to the challenge of doing something ephemeral while still staying me and doing something that's really true to my own work. So I had to come up with something, and I wound up doing something with spray chalk where I made patterns in stencils that were related to a lot of the imagery that I work with in my paintings, and used spray chalk with stencils on the pavement. And the result was something I was really satisfied with, but I never would have tried it if I hadn't had that challenge. And it actually turned into a big part of my practice, and now I've done one for a different gallery in the West Loop, and I did one on the facade of the Hyde Park Art Center. So this has become a new part of my studio practice. So I feel like
People love them too.
So is it location specific?
They are.
Is that your term?
yeah, they're usually like on a wall or on the pavement.
The one at the Hyde Park Art Center is like 3 stories tall, and it goes all the way down the side of the building and then onto the ground. And right after she did it, there was this hard rain, so the one on the ground kind of like spread out, and then the one on the wall is still there. You can still see it. But it's inspired kids from the neighborhood and people that take classes. There's a write on the wall and use chalk on the wall as like part of their practice too.
Right.
So you don't have to be making things out of like gold. You can be practicing and growing your practice with, just things that are around your house. Like for me, I do stuff that's, I do watercolors that are frozen into ice cubes and then melt them. And I do time-lapse photography of it, and it looks like tree rings. So that's kind of why I have to curate myself too, because it's difficult to show my work in it doesn't hang on the wall. It's something that's going to happen in this one spot for, maybe a weekend. So that kind of helped too, because trying to work with another curator and get them to understand what the vision is, it's difficult because sometimes they read your work in one way. So I kind of wanted to be in charge of that. Like, you can make as much work as you want, but eventually you're going to have to work with somebody who's going to have to hang it. And I wanted to be the person in charge of how my work was going to be hung and shown. So we also do these, through the Hyde Park Art Center, we learned how to do these curatorial statements and pamphlets. And this is helpful, I think, to the audience to realize how the artist thinks about their work, how their work has changed, and then it kind of includes the dates of the show and everybody's website and their names, so you can take it home with you. And then later on, if you're interested, if you want to buy art, if you want to look at people's art, if you want to see what the artists are doing, you can have that with you. And the artists themselves can use it if they want to get grant money for doing a project, because you're going to need this kind of stuff in your portfolio, because they're going to want to have proof that you've shown your work and that you're established. So these are helpful. So make one of these when you have your own show.
Actually, writing the curatorial statement, especially the one that we did for the Surprise in the Process show that we did at Chicago Art Department, it's one of my favorite parts of the process of curating the show, because it gives you an opportunity to kind of sort out your thoughts about the cohesive message and what you're looking for in the other artists that you're including, and what their work has to do with one another, what you want to kind of make a statement about through these other artists' work. So that was really fun. I like writing too. I feel like that's an important part of it.
Me too. And you don't necessarily, when we wrote our proposal for the show that we have in the hotel room, it was completely different than what actually occurs. So there was probably 3 or 4 different essays that we wrote, and they gave us a month timeline. So when we made the initial negotiations of doing this show, you know, we told them that we're going to need some studio time, so they gave us a studio for a week to be able to play with space and figure out, you know, how our work's going to fit together in there. And that evolved too. We had initial ideas, and sometimes your ideas don't work. So to have negotiate ways that you can, you know, be successful helps out at the beginning if you anticipate that. And we also got to show that show, so that was another show. So we set up the other show for a week and then showed it and talked to people about it and got feedback and then took it down, and then now we set it up here.
It was like an unexpected show within show.
Yeah, so
Wow.
so things.
So the show that's in this room originally was at Hyde Park. That was your kind of like experiment.
Yeah,
Right.
it
Yeah.
was 2 weeks before this show.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
It was in progress, a work in progress for this show.
And then also when they can see that from doing the studio part too, I feel like the people, the curators at the Hyde Park Art Center or other curators that they know walked through and said, okay, these people had an idea and they made it happen. You know, if that's why I called this start to finish, is because everybody can visualize and everybody can, you know, have an idea, but to go through the slog and make it happen and not give up on your final idea, I think is, you know,
Yeah.
great. You can grow from that.
This show actually was another example for me of how being involved in one of these curatorial projects challenged me in my creative practice, because again, I'm normally doing these paintings on the wall and now these spray chalk things, and we were confronted with the fact that there's going to be a king-size bed in the room. So I think with that in mind, you have 2 choices. You can either, well, 3 choices. You can totally ignore it, or you can use it as a pedestal for some other type of work, or you can incorporate it into a piece somehow. So we talked about it, and I thought, I think I want to kind of try to do something with the bed. So my initial idea was like really out there. I was going to have like fog coming out of it with like a, you know, like dry ice or a fog machine or something, and it was going to be, you know, I'm just going to build this mattress and all this stuff. And I tried to do it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting so far away from what is really true to, I think, like the ideas that I like to work with. So I need to like reel it back in, and I feel like I in the end I came up with a piece that I was proud of, but it's, I feel like it keeps getting me to stretch myself working with these kind of like interesting guidelines, these sort of like challenges. It's sort of the way I like to view it anyway.
Yeah. For me, my work has changed because it's become more like movement based, and I didn't have that at all in my work. It was kind of like me working at a table, and then doing a hotel room is like you have to stretch them to the wall. You got to figure out how can I, you know, not make holes in the walls, but still change the space from a hotel room into an experience for, you know, the people to see. And it incorporated a lot of my work. So it's a great experience. It's been a great experience. I would do it again. I would
I
definitely.
have a question. It's okay to interject
Of
right
course,
now.
yeah.
So it sounds like you do a lot of curating of your own shows, right? But you probably are also invited in to do other shows by other people as well? Or have you just...
Yeah, well, people invite me to do, invite me into their ideas for things,
Yeah.
I think. And then they need somebody that can deliver.
Yeah.
And so they bring it to me, and then I figure it out and make it happen.
I see. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm not really asked to be in other shows. I don't know how that would feel. Really, you know, because my work's really not, you know, easy. Like if somebody was interested in buying it yesterday, and I was like, well, do you know that it's ephemeral? Like, do you know that when you pick up all those like 5 billion sticks,
Yeah.
they're going to be in a different shape, and you know.
Did somebody ask you that?
Yeah, yeah.
But there are a lot of people that buy ephemeral work.
Well, I've never, see, I don't,
Yeah.
I have never had that experience.
Well, I'm just curious about this model, right? Because I don't, I know a lot of artists curate shows. I curate shows, and I often curate my own shows as well because I want to. It's like producing this fair. I do the things I want to see happen,
Yeah.
right? So I can curate the shows I want to see happen. I don't know anybody who does that almost exclusively. So that's interesting. You're like an artist entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Artist, curator, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it sort of fits in totally seamlessly with my vision of the art world that, if you don't like the art world that's out there, go make one for yourself.
Right.
Make your own version.
That was hard. I think when we got this opportunity, that was one of the things that I felt like really difficult. I was like, do I want to go and hang out work?
Mm-hmm.
Squares on a wall.
Right.
And do I want to sit on the bed and
Yeah.
feel judged by people?
Mhm.
Or do I want to go in there and just really go for it and really do the art that I want to do? And
Yeah.
if it doesn't fit on over somebody's sofa, then that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's still just as valid.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that was a difficult thing for me to actually step in those shoes, be like, do I want to wear those or do I? This is more me.
Mhm.
So every opportunity kind of helps hone what your own way of doing things is. Because I don't think that I do fit into the regular mold of how things work. Because I've worked with curators before. We had to work with one for the center program, and it was difficult. They were reading my work as though it was it Kenneth Nolan, I guess?
Mhm.
And they wanted me to set up an architectural piece, and that wasn't what I was doing. I'm more
Yeah.
interested in the California light, Robert Irwin kind of work,
Right.
and that wasn't how it was being read, and I
Right.
had to kind of invent a way to show it so that people would
Yeah.
look at it in this particular way.
Well, curators have a concept and they go out looking for artists that can illustrate it. And sometimes they don't, you may not be the right fit, right? They're trying to put
Right.
you into a square peg in a round hole, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense that you go out and curate your own shows. I like
Yeah.
that a lot.
It does for me, and it goes. I think it bleeds into just life in general.
Mhm.
In Chicago, the Easter Gates is huge, and
Mhm.
he's kind of thinking of the world.
Mhm.
Can you create your world? And I was thinking that on the drive over, I'm like,
Mhm.
what's the difference between making an art piece and having an idea for a park?
Yeah.
That people can congregate at. There's not really, to me, there's no difference. There doesn't have to be a boundary between what your medium is. If you have the vision and then you can make it neat.
Mhm.
Yes.
From a patron standpoint, I like walking through the rooms where they've embraced the whole space. You're walking into
Oh,
a
yeah.
different place.
Have you seen their room yet?
Yeah,
It's so great.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
several that have kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, quite a
read
few
on.
that have done that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious from your standpoint, now that you've done this a bunch of times,
Yeah.
if that's the norm, or do people usually just come in and treat it like, okay, we're showing in a hotel room?
It's all over the map.
Okay.
But every fair you get many people who treat the entire room as an environment.
Yeah.
We had a woman in San Francisco, she basically, Taryn Teresa, she basically locked herself in her room. It was a suite, 1-bedroom suite, and didn't come out for a couple of days before the fair opened. And every time I'd knock on the door, how's everything going? I'd be like, we're fine. It's ready. I'm like, what the hell are they doing in there?
Wow.
So when she finally opened for the event on Friday, I walked into the room and it was as far away from the original hotel room as you can imagine. She covered every surface, every surface, with white foam core. The whole room was a clean white box, but in this really weird take on the idea of a clean white box. She didn't paint the walls, and she taped it perfectly. The ceiling was white foam core. The floor was, I don't think the floor was white foam core, but it was white, maybe a drop cloth. And then she had one minimal sculpture in one corner. And then she had in the bedroom a little bench, and you could look at a video projection with sound. And I was like, where's all the furniture? And then I realized she had put all the furniture into one side of the room and walled it off behind white foam.
Oh my god.
It was
It's
awesome.
great. I love it.
And then Anne Marie, who's doing this fair, did one where the entire ceiling was a painting on vellum that she had stuck with that museum putty to the ceiling.
Oh, is
All
that
the
how
work
she
was on the
did it?
ceiling.
We were wondering
Yeah.
how she did that.
And there's a few pieces on the thing. Basically, you would lie in the bed and look at her work.
Yeah.
So we do get people that really consider the space. And it happens more and more. This fair, I'm actually impressed by the number of people who've done that. Your guys' room is fantastic. The level 3 Inside Within room also has done that. And when you walk around, you'll see more. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's like many.
And
many.
again, Anne Marie did it.
Anne Marie did it again with her wall, and it makes me very, very happy. My background is as a sculptor and installation artist, so I came out of graduate school just using space, not making objects. I took it upon myself later in life to try to figure out how to make objects because I was never taught how to do that. But so this is the language I understand.
I'm curious if you've tried any performance art, and like in your different curatorial
There
positions,
is,
and or like in a room, for example. You know, I mean,
on the trail we did, Regina Gloria, he actually has a show over at the expo. He did, it was like a garbage can basically with wheels on it. And he showed up and like we're standing there with like the directors of parks, like with like, you know, our director of the park shirt on, and he's like, this is my artwork, and she's like, that's a garbage can. And he's like, actually it's like a performance piece where, you know, me and my partner, we walk along the trails and we pick up the trash, and she was like, okay. But like it's so like, yeah, we have.
Social practice.
Yeah, social practice performance.
Yeah, I mean, my work has drifted into that realm too in the past, where it's not quite performance, but it's definitely social practice that, you know, everyday activities become part of the piece, or, you know, the line is blurred, let's put it that way. And I love that work. I mean, gosh, it's like, you know, you're talking about blurring the lines, right? It's like, I think artists are always trying to do that because we don't want to be put in a box.
Yeah.
And we want to have the freedom to, you know, do whatever kooky idea comes to our head.
you put them in a box. You put them in the hotel.
And I put them in a box.
But I
But then
mean,
they
the
they
model's
push
so-
out against the box, though.
The model's so great because I think a lot of people seeing contemporary art can't buy it necessarily. So having people pay $15 and they can see all of these artworks and the artist can,
Yeah.
you know, be exposed to other people is, I think, a wonderful idea. You know, could you do that? You know, they do it in the city, and for the Gorilla Truck Show, they have,
Mhm.
you know, people decorate the inside of trucks and
Yeah.
they all drive up.
That's cool.
Um,
I like that idea.
But some, you know, that's a way of making revenue and being able to have a new idea.
They do that in
without selling
London.
work.
They call it the boot show. So they open up they all come to a parking lot and open up their trunks.
Yeah,
And there's like art pieces in there, or installations probably.
not all boots.
Not all, well, yeah, a trunk is a boot
Yeah.
for them, but yes.
Are you gonna do the Gorilla Truck Show?
I don't know. My husband's a police officer, and they use those trucks to move bodies.
Oh.
And so when I went to the show and I smelled it,
Oh,
my God.
I can't. I can't. I just can't.
maybe
Yeah,
your piece
so-
could be disinfecting the inside of a truck.
Oh, that's a good idea. With like one of those masks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Do-
Maybe I'd have to do a van. I could do a van. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I can't do a whole truck. Or like just a giant ice cube. Maybe do something on the inside and pull it out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a big ice piece, but I haven't had a place to do it. So that would be a good place to do it. It's outside.
Yeah. You could curate a show there too.
Do you have to be sponsored to do it?
No, I don't think so. I think you just like apply to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
It changed dramatically
let's
this
do
year.
it.
Oh, did it?
It used to be on Randolph Street, and they moved it, so it's simultaneous with Neocon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right, it always has been with NeoCon.
Yeah, so it used to be on Randolph, and it was,
Right.
or Fulton Market or whatever, it was
Mhm.
tons.
Yeah.
And this year it was at the merchandise market in the front.
Oh, no,
And
it sold out.
It was like a quarter of what it usually is, if that. It was,
That's weird.
it had changed, almost unrecognizable.
Oh, that stinks. It was fun along
But
the
you should
street.
get back involved. And
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we'll
should.
fix it.
We would.
No, I'm
we
sure
could
it
get
was
an,
fun.
we could get an Airstream,
Yeah.
or we could get like a camper.
We should just get our own and forget their show.
Yeah, we should.
That's what you do anyway. You just put on your own shows.
Just get like
Curate
a
your
truck
own.
and start driving
Yeah.
around.
Just have like a collection box, like here,
Yeah.
$5. You can see the work. Yeah, this is a great opportunity for us. You're right.
It has been.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad
Thank
you
you
guys
guys
are
for.
here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.